The FISA courts came into being legislation back in the 70s. Well, we had a Cold War, we had a World War, we didn't have FISA courts. A lot of top secret information need to be protected, and we went for decades without a FISA court. I think we did it before, we can do it again. And as a judge, I know you can have in-camera hearings where the public's not allowed to, and if it's top secret information, you can have protections, but at least you know who the judge is. It's not this secret star chamber that can allow one political party to spy on another. It's got to stop.
Congressman Gohmert, so great to have you back on American Thought Leaders.
Great to be back with you, thank you.
So, as I've been saying at the beginning of all of these, coronavirus has entered the country.
It's a real thing.
It's better to kind of,
and especially the new case in California, we don't know where the origin is.
Absolutely, just as of today we know that.
But it does point to the need for border security.
Absolutely. And
I've been down on the border all hours of the day and night, and I've been shocked, even on the Texas-Mexico border, how many Chinese people will come across the border during the day, at night. It's really interesting. There are a lot of reasons to secure the border.
Right. And the thing is, the key is knowing, right, where people are coming from, where they're going, and so forth.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but the issue of the day is FISA reform. I know this is something that's very close to your heart. I was just speaking to Carter Page here a bit earlier.
Yeah,
obviously,
it's close to Carter. I've talked to Carter about it a number of times. Yeah.
Very, very close to his heart. Tell me your thoughts about where things are at with FISA reform.
Well, I guess the real shock on the FISA court for me came back when there was a leak, and I read an application for a warrant and an affidavit supporting the application for a warrant. And the Constitution is very clear. If you're going to do a search, spy on somebody, you have got to, or get their records, you have got to describe with particularity the thing to be searched and the thing to be gathered as evidence, and you've got to have probable cause that a crime was committed and that this person probably committed the crime.
Right.
And only then, and I've signed many warrants during my decade as a judge, felony judge. So, I might get a call at 3 a.m., some detective needs a warrant. Well, the application had to describe with particularity, it had to have probable cause, and it had to be supported by an affidavit, under oath. And if it wasn't there, I couldn't sign the warrant. So when I saw this warrant basically saying, we need all of the records on every customer that these people have got, and the judge just signs off, sure, give them all the records you got on all these customers. No particularity, no probable cause. This is outrageous. So that was kind of an awakening to abuse in the federal court system. And then when we find out about the FISA warrant, when we have renewed FISA, when we have passed, I wasn't there for the original Patriot Act, but some of the provisions that have been sunsetted come up, over and over we've been assured. Now, rarely do we pick up Americans. It's only if we're going after a foreign terrorist, known foreign terrorist, a member of a known terrorist group, foreign. But if somebody is communicating with a known terrorist, then, that we get picked up, but their name will be masked and all this stuff. And then we find out, no, the FISA court has been aggressively used to go after not only individuals, but as a way to get at a presidential campaign. That's insane. That was never meant to be used like that. And my first thought was, I know these are federal judges, don't know who the judge or judges were that did this, but they have got to be outraged. There was only one time I recall a police officer not being honest on something, and I was outraged. And I'm thinking, the judge has got to do something. This is a fraud on the court.
Right.
You can call them in. You don't even have to charge them with a crime. You can have a show cause hearing as to why they should not be cited for contempt for fraud upon the court. And, if you show that, especially they knew that something was false and they submitted it, or that they signed an application and swore this was verified, or signed an affidavit, or did like Rosenstein. He signed, apparently he never even read the application that he signed and certified were legitimate. You don't even read it? How can you certify this as completely legit? So there should have been multiple people brought in and sent to jail, even if they weren't charged with a crime, at least for fraud upon the court. And we kept going a year, another year, and the FISA courts didn't do anything. So the message to me is either these judges are totally incompetent or they're complicit in this effort to go around the Constitution to spy on a presidential campaign. And either way, we cannot continue to trust the FISA courts. And so some have been saying, well, Louie, we don't want to eliminate them. We think that we can adequately address and reform the problem if we will just require an amicus, a friend of the court, to represent the interests of whomever the warrant is sought against. And then in December, when the FISA court judge says, oh, wow, I got lied to, I'm going to appoint my own amicus, and she appoints a guy that's been calling Devin Nunes nuts and all kinds of names and character assassination, and that's who she appoints to represent a proper defense of people being charged. And so I knew then, I'm not sure we can reform this when we have federal judges that have this little regard for the Constitution. So if there was some way to reform it adequately where judges had an obligatory requirement to protect it, I just don't know how you do that. And by the way, okay, the FISA courts came into being legislation back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Well, we had a Cold War, we had a World War, we didn't have FISA courts. A lot of top secret information need to be protected. And we went for decades without a FISA court. I think we did it before, we can do it again. And as a judge, I know you can have in-camera hearings where the public's not allowed to, and if it's top secret information, you can have protections. But at least you know who the judge is. It's not this secret star chamber that can allow one political party to spy on another. It's got to stop.
Louie Gohmert, such a pleasure to have you on American Thought Leaders.
Hopefully that was not too much information, but I do feel very strongly about it.
I can see
this
that.
This is an un-American abuse that's got to stop, and we may need to repeal the whole FISA court to get that done. So thanks for
That's
your
a pleasure.